Okay, Rabbi Linzer is in my hometown of Berkeley today, so I thought it was only fair that I should cover the Daf Yomi for him. My recollection, or what he told me, is that we are on Nun Bet. So in order just to make that, just to have a smooth transition, I'm going to start that sugya from the beginning. I'm going to go pretty fast so we can hopefully get through half of Nun Gimel, and then tomorrow we'll get through half of Nun Gimel and Nun Dalet. So we're talking about the Mishnah that discusses the T'nai Beit Din. This is the first of the Mishnah that discusses the T'nai Beit Din. In this case, specifically the case of if you get captured, I will redeem you, and I will either, if he's been in Israel, I will return you to me as my wife, or if he's a Kohen, I will return you to your hometown, because a Kohen cannot cohabitate with a woman who has been raped. That's the din. So that's what the Mishnah tells us. The Gemara then goes on. Amar Abaye, Almana lekohen gadol chayav lifdota she'ani koreh ba uvekohenet adrinech lemdinatech mamzera v'netina liYisrael eini chayav lifdota eino chayav lifdota she'ein ani koreh ba ve'ot tvinech li leinto. Abaye says that if there's a kohen, if there's a widow who marries a Kohen Gadol is not allowed to marry a widow. If he marries a widow, which is an illegal marriage, but a marriage that despite the illegality of it, at least according, I mean, you've learned the Yevamos, so you know there's a machloket in the Tanaim about this, but according to the dominant opinion in the Tanaim, if he marries a widow, although it is an illegal marriage, it is considered to be a marriage, and therefore it would require a get, and so on. And he's required to divorce her at every moment that he lives with her. In any case, in this case, the woman has been captured. The Kohen is required to redeem her. And Abaye says the reason he's required to redeem her is that it counts for him. I'm sorry, I forgot your name already. Aaron? Aaron. So I started early. I started on Aleph Amud Bet. I'm sorry about that. So the Kohen is required to redeem her, Abaye says, because we can apply the T'nai Beit Din of V'hadrinech limdinatech, I will return you to your hometown, despite the fact that really they're not allowed to remain married now for two reasons, let alone the one. However, Mamzerta Nitina, a woman who is the product of an incestuous or a sexual relationship that involves or a woman from a particular ethnic group than Nitinim, which if I'm sure Rabbi Linzer has told you, are the remnants of the Givonim. Look in this Ayen Sefer Yehoshua. So these women are not allowed to be married to Jews. And he said he does not have to redeem her. Why doesn't he have to redeem her? Because I don't read on him the second part of the T'nai, that I will keep you on as a wife. In other words, Abaye is reading this T'nai, instead of being a single statement, I will redeem you, followed by two optional results. If it's a legal marriage, I'll return you to me as a wife. If it's not an illegal marriage, I'll return you to your home. Abaye reads this as one single T'nai. I will redeem you, and I will return, and I will keep you on as a wife, or I will redeem you, and I will return you to your hometown. If you can't apply the second part, then the first part also does not apply. That's the shita of Abaye. Rabbi Amar, Rava says the thing that keeps me from redeeming her is if there was some kind of barrier to my marrying her before she was captured, then I don't have to redeem her. However, if the barrier to me staying married to her comes after she is captured, for instance, the very fact that she's captured suggests that she was raped, and that makes her a problem for a Kohen, that would not be a case where, so in that case, I still have to redeem her. In other words, it's a matter of when does the chiyuv of pidyon come about? If there's no legal marriage, then meaning if the marriage itself was a marriage that was leading towards a required divorce, that would be a case where the requirement of pidyon never actually came into place, and therefore, if a woman was captured, there's no requirement to redeem her. Whereas if the woman was legally married and it was a perfectly reasonable marriage until the moment she was captured, at which point something happened that requires her now to be divorced, that woman is required to be redeemed. So for Rav, it has nothing to do with the wording of the T'nai. For Rav, it has everything to do with what causes the Isur. And by the way, just lahalacha, Rava would say that both a malmanato, a kohen gadol, and a mamzer netina Israel do not require pidyon. So it's interesting. I for some reason I tend to read Rava lakula, but Rava is not lakula. Rava is lachumra. Abaye is the one who's actually reading a more lenient position that even in this case, yeah. Yes. Well, even that even a more that even a kohenet to manato kohen gadol would still have to have pidyon. And Rava says no, that's not. Yes, that's right. This is not one of the 6 cases where the halacha is going to Abaye.
But the community has, on a larger scale, what any an obligation to redeem.
Yes, there's an obligation to redeem all Jews, but the question is, does this husband have a specific obligation based on the Ketuvot? Is this machloket between the Amoraim as the same as a machloket that we already have between the Tanaim? Hamadir ishto v'nishbet, Rabbi Eliezer omer podeh v'noten la ketubta, Rabbi Yoshua omer noten la ketubta ve'eno podeh. A person who takes an oath that his wife is not allowed to benefit from him, and then she gets captured. So the rules of a person who makes an oath that his wife cannot benefit from him are that he has to divorce her. So this is a marriage very much like the almanah to a kohen gadol or a netina or mamzer to a Yisrael that is inevitably heading towards divorce, at least from a halachic point of view. And the question then becomes, is he required to do pidyon? Rabbi Eliezer says he is, and Rabbi Yoshua says he's not. Amar Rabbi Natan, sha'alti et sumchus, k'she'amar Rabbi Yoshua noten ketubta ve'eno podeh. That Rabbi Yoshua says he gives her ketubah and he doesn't have to do the pidyon. Is it when first he made the oath and then she was captured, or was it when she was captured and then following her capture he made an oath? No, she can't benefit from me, and that way somehow he weasels out of the pidyon. Ve'amar responded to Rabbi Natan, Lo shamati. I don't have a tradition about this. But it makes sense to me that it must be a case where first he took the oath and then she was kidnapped. That if you say that people can do this, that first she can be captured and then you take the oath, then maybe people will do that in order to get out of their requirement. A lot of people will do it in order to get out of their requirement. It's kind of a cynical perspective that would be something that people would do, but the truth is that you have to keep the protections in place. I'm interested, and I'm not going to go deep into it, but I'm interested in the lo shamati response. I don't have a tradition for this, but I have a svara for it. It's just interesting that the way that Sumchus phrases that. The Gemara continues, my love, b'madir eshet kohen kamipalge. Maybe they're talking about the case of an Eshet Kohen. Why is it important to say that it's an Eshet Kohen? Because then we're talking about a case where at least one of the characters in the story because then we're talking about a case where the Ketubah says, I will return you to your hometown. Since I'll return you to your hometown, Abaye is like the one who says that the Kohen has to redeem her. And why? Because you can still apply the t'nai of Adr Nechlim Dinatech. Rava is like Rabbi Yoshua who says no. If it was a marriage that was heading to divorce already before the capture, then there's nothing to talk about. The Gemara says no. This is what we're talking about. It's a case where she made the oath that she would not benefit from anything of his, and he didn't nullify her oath. So it's a marriage that is untenable. She is no longer able to benefit from anything of her husband. So it is interesting. I don't know if it's halachically going to a divorce.
Why would it?
Just because lichora they could live. She would just not take any benefit from him. I mean, seems to me that
Impractical in a marriage.
it is impractical. The question is, no, fine, but okay. Let me just. For some reason, I didn't look into this. I got caught on one foot. Rashi doesn't say.
Dysol says to note that this is going to get discussed again on DOS 71.
Okay, it may come up again. I'm not sure what the answer is. The other way to read it may be that she made an oath that he cannot receive benefit from her, in which case I assume that would halachically lead to a get. In any case, I don't know why I assume that she made the oath about herself. Maybe it is that she made the oath on him. So we'll read it that way for now, and Rabbi Linzer can correct me when he comes back if it was DOF 71 when it comes up. She made an oath that he cannot benefit from her, and instead of annulling it, he simply allowed it to stand. So that means that this marriage is heading inevitably towards a divorce. But the machloket between them, it's about anybody. It's not just about an Eshet Kohen. The machloket is Rabbi Eliezer Savar. Rabbi Eliezer said he stuck his finger between her teeth and let her bite him. Right? He had the power to not let this neder last, and he didn't do anything. So it's his fault that this is happening. Since it's his fault, he still has the requirements of a pidyon. Rabbi Yoshua Savar, he natna etzba ben shinea. Rabbi Yoshua said, no, it's her fault. She's the one who actually initiated this process. It's interesting. There's no discussion here about whether pidyon counts as hana or not. So now the Gemara says, wait a minute. Let's go back to the words of the Baraita. Interesting. They don't question the words of Hedira. He made an oath on her. It goes to the different question. He says, if it's a case where she made the oath, then why does he have to give her a ketubah? A ketubah is something that she's the one who's responsible for the divorce. So normal cases, when a woman has violated one of the requirements of her marriage, she is divorced and she doesn't receive a ketubah. Vitu, Amar Rabbi Natan, שאלתי את סונכוס כשאמר רבי יהושע נותן לה כתובתה ואינו פודה, כשהדירה לבסוף נשפט ובנשפט לבסוף הדירה. So this question of Rabbi Natan, is it when they made the oath before the capture, or even when they made the oath after the capture? Amar lo shamati. So, and he said, I don't know the answer. The Gemara says, and she was the one who took the oath. What difference does it make when she did it? She's the one who is essentially pulling out of the marriage. She's pulling out of the marriage. There shouldn't be any issue of when exactly did she pull out of the marriage. And for that reason, the Gemara says, rather it's a case where he made the oath. And in fact, both Abaye and Rava can be read in this Baraita. We don't need to line them up, each one according to a separate time, which is generally the preferred way of solving this kind of lema tikitanai.
I was going to ask about that, because usually when they say that there's a dispute between Tanayim that parallels the dispute between Achronim, they usually conclude that there isn't that it isn't the same.
So we attempted to do that by saying, no, the case is actually they're arguing about totally different things. Abaye and Rava are arguing about the T'nai Beit Din. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua are arguing about Hu natan etzba ben shinea, he natna etzba ben shinea. Who's at fault? And that's not at all related to Abaye v'Rava. So that was the first possibility. But the Gemara came back and said, yeah, but that's not a good solution. So we still have to come to the same solution, which is we have to say that the Tanaim and the Emoraim are not arguing about the same thing. The Gemara is not comfortable with, essentially not comfortable with Emoraim who argue about the same things that Tanaim argue about without citing the Tanaim who have had this argument.
Well, particularly when you're as late as Rav and Abaye.
Yes, although, yeah, okay. I mean, meaning you're referring to the idea of Rav. So yes, but in any case, in this case, the solution they come up with is actually both Abaye and Rava could hold like both Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Abaye mitaretz l'tameh almana l'kohen gadol kulei alma pligi dechayav liftota. The case of the almanat widow to the Kohen Gadol, nobody disputes that he really does have to redeem her. Mamzeret nisini al Yisrael kulei alma la pligi kulei alma. Sorry. Yes, I see. I just my eye is not there. I know what it's supposed to say. Everybody knows that he is not required to redeem her. In a case where somebody makes a neder on the wife of a Kohen, also there's no machloket on that, which is we suggested earlier that maybe there would be a machloket on this. But that is the same case as a widow to a Kohen Gadol, because that marriage is heading inevitably for divorce. The machloket that they're talking about is in somebody who took an oath on the wife, a normal Yisrael who took an oath on his wife. Rabbi Eliezer Azil Batalmi Kara. Rabbi Eliezer said originally when they got married there was a chiyuv that came into being that he is required to redeem her, and that chiyuv remains. Rabbi Yoshua Zal Batal Baso. And Rabbi Yoshua says no. As soon as the neder is made, they enter into a new stage of marriage where T'nai Beit Din are canceled. Rava mitretz l'tamei. Rava has his own explanation. Almana l'kohen gadol mamzeret nitna Yisrael kulei alma lo pligi de'eno chayav. The cases that Rava talked about, the widow to the kohen gadol or the mamzeret nitna to Yisrael, everybody agrees that he doesn't have to redeem her. Ki pligi b'madir ben eshet kohen uven eshet Yisrael. But our case is about whether or not it's an eshet kohen or an eshet Yisrael. Anybody who has a take. But it's the same argument. Rabbi Eliezer Azal Batal Meikara. Rabbi Eliezer holds like the initial status. Rabbi Yoshua Azal Batal Basof. So just to conceptually lay out exactly what the distinction is between Abaye and Rava's argument and Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua, Abaye and Rava are arguing about how do we read the T'nai Beit Din? Is there a connection between the second clause and the first clause? At least that's the claim Abaye claims there is. Rava claims no, anything that makes her asura that isn't directly connected to the captivity immediately eliminates the entire clause. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua we're talking about are actually simply a separate case. They're a case where a woman and a man were married, the clauses came into effect, and at that point, a change took place in the marriage that wasn't directly connected to the captivity, but at the same time really did have some
legal force.
It had legal force in order to perhaps cancel the T'nai Beit Din, but perhaps not, because the T'nai Beit Din had already been in effect. Yeah. This is a bit of a compromise on the part of Rava. Rava said, Kosha isur ba'al mechamat davar acher, anything that some outside issue has caused is already that already cancels the pidyon. Now Rava is saying only if it was originally an illegal marriage, that the marriage was actually undertaken without proper sanction, those are the cases that we're talking about here. That's the davar acher gorem la. However, if the marriage was undertaken with legal sanction and then something happened over the course of time to cancel it, that still counts, at least according to the position of Rabbi Yoshua. of a Rabbi Eliezer, that still counts as a place where the T'nai Beitin would apply.
So is his reasoning, say, Roof, in other words, on the one hand, it was already a weak marriage legally, right? And then on top of it, there's the legal force of this neder. So,
Rava would say if you got married to somebody who's illegal for you to get married to,
right?
That's it. The T'nai Beitin doesn't apply.
So it's already there's no legal foundation.
The T'nai Beitin come into effect. This is Rabbi Eliezer Aliba de Rava.
Right.
T'nai Beitin come into. Sorry, is it Rabbi Eliezer? It's Rabbi Yoshua Aliba de Rava. T'nai Beitin come into effect in legal marriages.
Only.
If you don't have a legal marriage,
there's no foundation.
There's nothing going on. I guess it's both of them. Anyway, all right. The next part of the Mishnah, Nishbeit chayav liftota b'chula. We're still talking about what happens in cases of redemption. Tanu Rabbanan. Nishbeit b'chayei ba'ala v'achar kach met ba'ala, hikir ba ba'ala yoshin chayvin liftota, lo hikir ba ba'ala ein yoshin chayvin liftota. If she is captured in the lifetime of her husband and then the husband dies, if the husband knew that she had been captured, that's good enough to bring the chovah of pidyon down on his head or down on his wealth, and his heirs now, once after he dies, his heirs now are required to do to do the pidyon. However, if he never knew it, then the heirs are not required. This is like a very weird. Later we're going to eventually say that the Yoshim are never required, but this is very kind of odd thing, and I don't know I can't make a direct analogy, but if you're familiar with any ideas in Yoredea, in the laws of Kashrut, there's something called no dahata'arovet, that if you know that you have a mixture, you have to immediately have 60 against the thing that you have mixed in. If you have poor milk, if milk falls into your fleshik soup or something, if you don't know that milk fell in and more milk fell in, you can assume. All right, I'm not going to get into it. The Kitzur, it's definitely a strange.
So do the Yoshim not have a greater obligation than the general community? I would think that
apparently not.
I mean, you think let's say it's their mother. Is these Yoshim not the actual parents? You know what I mean?
Children do not have a chova to redeem their parents.
Even from a kibbut avim perspective?
Oh, good point. From a kibbut avim perspective, maybe they do. From the perspective of a T'nai Beitin, they don't. So assume we're talking about somebody else's mother.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It might not be like, father married a woman, and this is not, this is not the father's kid. But
that's right. And I assume that many of these fights that the Masechet Ketubot introduces between the Yoshim and the wife of the father is unlikely to be between children and their mother, although these things do happen.
If it really was their mother, they probably would have to at least step up to the plate a little more.
I say to you out of svara, I don't say to you out of knowledge, but I think kibbut avim is a reasonable argument to say that they would have to. Okay. Levi Levi thought that he would actually use this mishnah for halacha l'maisa. Amar le Rav, hachi amar chabibi, leiti yochata ki hamatnita. Rav said, "My beloved one," which is his term for Rabbi Chia, his uncle.
His uncle.
Yes. By the way, I don't know if there's a direct connection, but in Aramaic, in Hebrew, the term dod, my uncle, can also in Shir Shirim, which we'll be reading pretty soon, is also beloved.
Right.
So it's interesting that he calls his uncle, his dod, Chabibi, my beloved. In any case, he says the halacha is not like this Mishnah. Rather, halacha is like the following braita. If she was kidnapped and then after the death of her husband, then heirs are not required to redeem her. And not only this, but even if she was kidnapped before the death of her husband, and then her husband died, the heirs are not required to redeem her. It's interesting. You wonder why you need both of those sections. It would be enough to have to say the second one, and I don't know the answer to that. Fascinatingly, the Gemara then goes on. The bride then goes on. Because I do not read on her, I will return her to me as a wife. Which was Abaye's reasoning earlier in the Gemara, and we, the halacha doesn't go according to Abaye in that case, but for some reason we paskin according to this.
Well, these were Abaye.
Yes, that's right. But you would think that the fact that Rav paskins like this Baraita would give us a reason to paskin like Abaye in this case.
Right.
Wait, is it written in this phrase was not written?
No, it's the
Einani Koreba.
No, Einani Koreba is like what Abaye said earlier, that in order to have a kiyum of the clause Afrakinech, I will redeem you, you have to have the application of, and I will return you to me to be my wife. If you can't return her to you to be your wife, which is the case of
when the guy's dead.
a mother, but you're not allowed to marry your mother-in-law regardless, right? So these heirs are not permitted to keep her on as a wife. For that reason, they don't have the
doesn't
obligation.
apply. There's no legal application.
That's right.
Right.
Tanu Rabbanan, nishbet והיו מבקשים ממנו עד 10 דמיה. פעם ראשונה פודה, מכאן ואילך, רצה אינו פודה. There was a case, now we're just in the general world of Pidyon. A wife was kidnapped, and the kidnappers are demanding as much as 10 times her actual worth on the market.
But I'm surprised about that, because generally say forget about the husband and the wife. Say we're gonna talk about it. So the kidnappers are demanding up to 10 times her worth on the market. So the first time that this happens, the husband is required to do pidyon. After that, if he wants to do pidyon, he can do pidyon. If he doesn't want to do pidyon, he doesn't have to do pidyon. He only has to do it once. I guess I'll just refer you to the Tosfot recites the Shita of Rabbeinu Hananel, which says he only has to pay more than her value once. After that, if he wants to pay more than her value, he can. Otherwise, he doesn't. But you would have to. But if she's kidnapped and they demand her actual value, he still has to do it. The Tosfot bring a pretty good kasha on that. But it's worth looking at. It's the last Tosfot.
Is that specific? So more than 10 times is not required?
Good question. I don't know the answer. I presume. I don't know the answer. Rabban Shimon Gamliel Omer. Sorry. It does say on the question. Hyperbolic. It could be hyperbolic, even as much as 10 times, meaning even as much as a million. Nobody would think to charge so much for a captive.
Wait, I'm sorry. So you're saying that it could be that the next time he has to go to her, either we don't know, up until the Mea or not at all.
So that's a machloket between Rabbeinu Hananel and the Tosfos.
Yeah, Rashi. You don't have to do it all. Second time.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Michael, you.
Yeah. Rabban Shimon Gamliel Omer, Ein podina tefuyin yoter gedei dmehen mipnei tikun haolam. This is what Michael was referring to. Rabban Shimon Gamliel has a shita that says we do not do pidyon on the shvuyin more than their actual price because of tikkun haolam. This is, you will. As you get to Gittin, you'll see there's an entire chapter about tikkun haolam. Tikkun haolam in the Mishnah does not mean what tikkun haolam means today in the way that we conceptualize it. But you can't overpay for captives because that creates a hardship on the entire community. Or so. But what exactly is the reason? But that seems to be at least part of the issue.
about the hardship of the community, then it's margil the captors to do this more often.
Right. So that's the machloket, right? It creates
Instability.
It creates inflation and right, not just inflation, but it creates also right. It encourages the terrorists,
which was obviously a big deal in the contemporary Israel. And also here with that whole Bergdahl thing.
Yeah.
Right now.
So we say. So that's the shita of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. So the Gemara goes on to interpret. They say, "Ha bichdei mehen." Therefore, according to Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, hodin. Therefore, you really do have to redeem her according to her. If she's at given the correct price,
an infinite number of times.
So apparently, but this is not the Gemara is not questioning Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel's relationship to the earlier statement. It's going to question his relationship to a later statement or a different statement of his own. So you say, right? Then therefore you have to do it based on her price, even if her actual redemption cost is worth more than her ketubah. So the Gemara says, this contradicts a statement that Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel made earlier. If she was kidnapped and they were demanding 10 times not her own worth, but 10 times her ketubah, therefore it sounds like Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel would say that if it's more than her ketubah, you only have to do pidyon once. You don't have to do pidyon more than that. The first one said, and earlier it sounded like if it's her market price, then you still have to do pidyon, even if it's more than the ketubah. They say Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. Sorry, my mistake. I got jumped the gun. Right. This is still the shita of the Rabbanan. רבן שמעון בן גמליאל אומר, אם היה פרקונה כנגד כתובתה פודה, if her redemption is the equivalent of only her ketubah, then he does pidyon. Im lav eino pode, but he doesn't have to redeem her more than the price of her ketubah. We seem to have a contradiction. In one place, it seems that you have to pay her market value, even if it's more than the ketubah. In the other, it says that if it's her ketubah, you pay it. If it's more than her ketubah, you don't pay it, according to Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. And the Gemara says, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel has two criteria: either market value or ketubah. In other words, you always have to pay market value so long as it's less than the ketubah. If it's more than the ketubah, then you already move into phase B. Yes, Charlie?
It says Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
which implies stringent. Feels more like a stringency.
So it's a leniency to the husband.
Well, not necessarily. I want my wife back, and you're not going to let me pay the terrorist $10 billion?
No, it says Imat. Oh, I see. Because it's Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel.
And it's Tikkun Olam, you don't pay excessive kidnapping.
I'm not, but it's not, the second one is not Tikkun Olam.
The second one's not, but the first one.
So the second one I would understand to be, I don't know, it's a good question. It seems to me clear that it's a kula on the husband. My expectation is he would say, look, if you want to do it, you can do it, but you don't have any obligation even to do it with pidyon the first time.
This came up in the Rishonim, Maharam Rothenberg.
Yes, the question of how to pay off, how to pay for captives is a big deal. And yes, you're right. The Maharam Rothenberg is a classic case of that. Okay. If she becomes ill, he is required to heal her. Tanu Rabbanan. Almana nizona b'nichzei yatomim utzricha refuah. Harei hi a widow who is being supported by the heirs or by the orphans, and she needs to be healed. This is just like mizonos, and therefore she should receive whatever she needs. This is actually a bright.
She's being First of all, she's been paid her ketubah money, correct?
So
And
we presume, if you've seen the Mishnah, we're going to actually see the Mishnah in a few seconds. There's actually a machloket of how exactly one deals with an almanah. The Bnei Yerushalayim and Bnei Galil say she gets her matayim or maneh, and then she also gets fed by the Yatomim until such time as she remarries. Anshe Yehuda would say you can get fed until you have received the full value of your ketubah, and then you're going to have to take off. This woman is in one of the cases where she is permitted to continue to live off the Yatomim. So if it's Anshe Yehuda, then we presume that she hasn't yet received her ketubah. If it's Anshe Yerushalayim or Anshe Galil, then we assume that maybe. So refuah is like mizonot. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel omer refuah sheyesh la kitzba nitrapet miktubta she'en la kitzba harei hi kimizonot. So interesting. I would have gone the other direction, but it makes sense. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says healing that has it's a single one-time event. She needs a regimen of antibiotics for 10 days, and then she'll be well again. That is something that comes out of her ketubah. However, if she is in a situation where she has asthma and she needs regular asthma treatment, regular asthma medication for the rest of her life or forever, however long she is, that falls into the category of mizonot. It's part of her upkeep, and as such, it belongs with.
So
her,
we say you trade ketubah. So we say, okay, I'm chayav to give you 200. This medication will cost you 50. Now I only have to give you 150 in case the marriage ends.
That's correct.
So it's like keeping around
Plus
the tally.
I owe you a certain amount for the ketubah, a certain amount for the tosefet, and yes, and I'm reducing it as I give you things that are not within my demand, that are not demanded of me to give you. Or they could say, look, here's your choices. You go and pay for it out of your pocket, or I will pay for it out of your ketubah. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Asu hakazat dam be'eretz Yisrael kirufuah she'ein la kitzba. Rabbi Yochanan said they made bloodletting in Eretz Yisrael like a kind of treatment that doesn't.
So it's an entitlement.
Yes.
The insurance company gave it a certain code.
Right.
Yes, that's exactly right. I don't know enough about hakazat dam, but that is something to investigate in terms of trying to understand how we understand medical treatments and so on. And it does seem to me to be the case that people would go in for regularly,
it's like your regular dental checkup,
maybe even weekly. Yes.
But we do that today when you get blood.
For continued health. Yes. So that's real hakazat dam. I would suggest that things like vitamins or things that are supplements that a person uses to increase their health might fall into this category. This is a fascinating story. Krive de Rabbi Yochanan havale itat abba dahava tzricha refuah kol yoma. A relative of Rabbi Yochanan had a mother-in-law who his father apparently passed away, and she needed.
Is it relatives?
No, krive.
Relative, singular.
Okay,
yeah.
Sorry.
He had a mother-in-law who needed regular healing. So they Adukli Kamed Rabbi Yochanan. It should be Akli Rabbi Yochanan. I see why you said that. Or maybe the two of them. He and the mother-in-law came before Rabbi Yochanan. No, it could be krive. Could be right. It could be plural. Itat Abba. Well, you're right. It's not a mother-in-law. It's a stepmother. Excuse me. Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think Rabbi Dov is correct about that. Amale izilu kutule midi lerofe. He said, "Here's what you do. Go to the doctor and say, I need a flat fee. How much is it going to cost you to treat this woman for the rest of her life?" And then the doctor says, whatever you pay him a flat fee, and then essentially it's on his head. If he can reduce costs, then he does, and if not, then he loses. Yes,
right.
exactly right. Exactly right. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, and this is Rabbi Yochanan's conclusion about this. Asinu atzmenu ke'olchei hadayim. I made myself like, today we'd say a lawyer. I made myself like one of the people who tries to negotiate or manipulate the court. So, in other words, and it's disparaging of himself. I shouldn't have done that. I've made myself someone who tries to monkey with the law. Okay, so if you're gonna have regrets, right? We need to know what you thought in the first place, and then why did you change your mind? What happened at the end? Do not turn away from the troubles of your own flesh. And in the end, he said, "Look, a normal person. If somebody came to Chagai Reznikov and said, I've got this issue and it's my relative and I should help them out, that's one thing. But if somebody comes to Rabbi Linzer, that's another thing. The psak that you give and the way you understand your need to give, the kind of psak you need to give is based on your stature in the community. Your stature in the community as an Adam Chashuv, you need to be extra careful not to be seen to be somehow manipulating the law to favor your relatives or something like that. And that's why Rabbi Yochanan, who's obviously an extremely important person in his community, felt regret.
Do this anyway, right? Because it's something that is ongoing. So what's the difference if it's a flat fee or not?
Because if it's a flat fee, you save money, or at least possibly save money.
But how is that? But it has nothing to do with the law. Like he could have just said, "All right, I would have to pay you anyway." Just like, did he not tell him? In other words,
what happens?
Did he say, "I'm going to pay you if you give me a flat fee"? Or
no,
what negotiate, which you're allowed to do anyway.
He says to the doctor, "I will pay." He says, "This is." That's essentially what he came up with as a way of getting around it. Either the doctor loses money, or the mother or the stepmother loses out. It's one way or the other. He says to the doctor, "Tell me how much this is going to cost, and I'm going to pay it up front. Well, after that, you can't come to me anymore." Now, the fact is that these Yitomim have an obligation to pay for this refuah of their stepmother every step of the way. It's not their job, or it is at least ethically questionable for them to put the burden of that on the doctor. They need to. It could be that they end up winning because she could end up dying earlier, and then the flat fee is nothing. It's a gamble, but Rabbi Yochanan feels uncomfortable with the idea that he helped them in some way get away cheap from this obligation. That as a model for the community, he felt that it's not appropriate for people to see the Gadol Hador essentially telling people how to get around the expense of having.
So he's against collective bargaining, I guess.
Perhaps he's at least against a person of authority demanding that kind of relationship.
It would make more sense if you understood that Rabbi Yochanan expressed his regrets later on when it turned out that the woman lived long enough to actually be profitable for the family.
It could be that that's what happened, or it could.
But that would make more sense.
The Gemara doesn't say one way or the other. It makes sense to me regardless that Rabbi Yochanan doesn't feel that was an appropriate position to take as the Gadol Hador.
I guess medical costs weren't as big an issue then as they are now. Because now we'd say, he's very, very smart. We do that all the time. We negotiate, medical reimbursements,
He's like throwing his weight around.
Yes.
Would you say that?
I don't know if he's throwing his weight around. He's giving them advice on how to save money.
Which I don't see why that's such a problem.
Okay, I understand your objection, but I tried to explain what I think Rabbi Yochanan's
Do
saying.
you think the doctor in this situation would consider that this came from Rabbi Yochanan indirectly or not? That's it.
I think that's what you mean by Adam Chashuv Shani. I guess that's possible, but I think it's good enough just to say that Rabbi Yochanan would say. I think
it's not appropriate for a person in such authority. That means you're implying that the community is going to realize this.
Right, but my impression is that Rabbi Yochanan's concern is simply that the community will come to devalue the obligation of the Yitomim to the stepmother, as opposed to in this particular case that he somehow pressured the doctor into taking a particular kind of segment. Yes, I see that. So falling farther behind instead of getting ahead. I'll have to get ahead tomorrow. So we're back in the Mishnah. Lo katav labnin dichin dihavun lichi minai inun yaltum ksaf ktubtich yater al chol kehon de'im achuhon chayav shehu t'nai beitin. If he doesn't say the male sons that you will have from me, he's writing this to his wife, will inherit the money of your ketubah. Remember that the woman brings in a dowry to the marriage, and that dowry is considered to be a part of the ketubah. If she dies first, the husband inherits it. However, if the husband then dies, he here guarantees that only her sons will inherit that portion of his wealth. Nobody else will inherit that portion of his wealth. Bnan nukban dihavin lichi minai yahavin yatvan beveiti umitzanan minichsai ad tilkachun leguvrin chayav shehu t'nai beitin. If you didn't write, and your daughters that you have will be fed in my house until they get married, that's also required because those are all t'nai beitin.
Or does it make a difference if they're bogrot or not? This is a...
No, I don't think it does actually.
Seriously, if they're bogrot?
We talk later on, they get mizonot, right? That's habanim yoshuva banot yizonu. That's not just about ktanot, that's about everybody.
And that's
At tehe yatva beveiti umitzana minichsai kol yemei migar umunutaich beveiti chayav shehu t'nai beitin. So he says so if he didn't write to her, you will sit in my house and receive mizonot as long as your widowhood lasts, presumably until she gets remarried. He's required because this is a t'nai beitin. Kach hayu anshe Yerushalayim kodvim. Anshe Galil hayu kodvim k'anshe Yerushalayim. This is what I was telling Rabbi Dov earlier. Anshe Yehuda hayu kodvim hayu kodvim. Anshe Yehuda had a different line in their ketubah. Anshe yirtzu hayoshim liten lach ktubtich. Until the yoshim want to give you your ketubah. Lefikach im ratzu yoshin notnin la ktubta upotrin ota. If they want, then the yoshim can give her ketubah and let her and send her on her way. Just point out that this is striking in terms of the relationship to the t'nai ketubah. It would suggest that the t'nai ketubah, if you didn't write it, applies, but if you write something directly in contradiction to the t'nai ketubah, that already is good enough to get you out of it. Yes.
This might be a very question, but because of the concept of t'nai beitin, so that assumes that if there's no ketubah at all these things apply.
Yes.
So theoretically, one would not have to write a ketubah. I mean, it wouldn't be the right thing to do in terms of public policy, but all these illegal t'naim are in force.
These legal t'naim are in force. If you don't write a ketubah, then there could be some issues in terms of the calculating out what she's bringing in, what he's adding, and so on.
Right.
So there's reason to do it, but legally, yes, I think that many of these things would still apply.
Is any of this actually in our ketubot these days?
No. Because it's not beitin. We have other things in our ketubot.
I thought the whole point though was that you're supposed to write it. And
matai maneh is in our ketubot.
But I still understand why the rest of it isn't. I mean, it seems to me like this is their standard boilerplate ketubah.
I think we need a year where we go through the language of the ketubah, because I certainly didn't read it very carefully when I was, and my Aramaic wasn't very good.
Okay, that's on somebody else's head. In any case, I don't know the answer why we don't write in the t'nai ketubah, but yes, the only t'nai ketubah that we write is matai maneh. Amar Rabbi Yochanan mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. Rabbi Yochanan said he has a tradition from Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. Rabbi Yochanan has traditions from Shimon ben Yochai. I'm not sure how he gets them. It's like 100 years before him. Why did they create?
It was 100 years before Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai.
The other way around. So why did they create this t'nai of bnin dichrin, that the male sons will inherit the property that the mother brings into the marriage? So that a person will come forward and will write a dowry for his daughter as equivalent to the inheritance that he's leaving to his son. I'm adding in some words just to make it clear, because you don't write a dowry for your son. Umi ikamidi, says the Gemara, derachmana amar bra lirot balta lo tirot ve'atu rabananu mitakne letirot balta. How can it be that the Torah said that sons inherit, daughters don't inherit, and the rabbis came forward and said, no, daughters should also inherit? Anami doraitahu. The Gemara responds, no, this is also a doraita issue. Why? Dichtiv k'chu nashim v'holidu banim uvanot uk'chu livneichem nashim ve'et benoteichem tnu la'anashim. That you should marry your daughters off to other people. So we say bishlam banim b'yadei kaimeh. It's reasonable to say that you can find a woman and give your son the kiddushin to marry your son. Ela bante mi kaimin b'yadei. How can you can't force someone to marry your daughter? You don't have you can't create a situation that somebody will marry your daughter.
Relation within the son. You can't force someone to marry your son either.
Yes, but you can at least pay. So I mean, that's what we're building to, right? You can pay the kiddushin. You can give a lot of presents to your son to make him a desirable
match.
A desirable match. So we say hakamash malan denil basha v'nichsa v'nitivla midi ki hechi dikafzeela ve'atu nasvela. What you should do is you outfit her. Yeah, you're required to outfit her in such a way that people will come and want to marry her. Ve'ad kama. So how much is it? Are we talking about?
Me, what should you do, or you're obligated to do?
I expect it's how much are you permitted to still do? Because at a certain point, maybe you are overstepping your bounds in terms of taking from the inheritance of your son. That you really should do up to a tenth of your possessions.
Nice.
So we say, so okay, in that case, let the hold on a second, I seem to have lost track. They say, okay, in that case, her sons should only inherit the parts of the ketubah that are given from the father-in-law, but things that the husband is guaranteed to the wife, like tosefet and like manema atayim, those things should be general. Those things shouldn't belong to her sons, because the whole point is to encourage fathers to make a greater dowry. So we say.
Wait, I'm not understanding that. Just say that again.
So the ketubah has two parts. It has the parts that the husband is contributing. So that's for a virgin 200, for a widow 100, and it's whatever gifts he wants to give her in addition, in case that in the case that she that he dies, or that they get divorced or something like that. So the Gemara suggests, okay, if the point is to encourage the father to add stuff, so what that means is that the father's part of the ketubah should go to her sons, but the husband's part of the ketubah, the things that he's giving her, that's his property, and he never ended up having to pay it. She died before he did. So that stuff should belong to him, and that should be divided equally amongst his heirs. So the Gemara says, Im ken av nami mibnav katav. The father will say, what? He's not giving anything to my grandchildren. I'm supposed to provide all the things for my daughter and grandchildren, but he is supposed to get my stuff. I don't want to do it.
He also won't write anything.
Right, exactly. He'll back off. He sees that the husband is not being generous to his grandchildren. He's going to back off. We'll go for two more lines. Ve'ema hecha dechatav av lichtov baal, hecha delo chatav av lo lichtov baal. So, okay, let's say that in a case where the father is giving a lot, then the husband will make it clear that, okay, in that case, only your sons will inherit your ketubah. But if the father backs off and doesn't have a large dowry, maybe the husband should say, okay, I'm not going to, my possessions should go to all my children. So we say la plugra banan. The rabbis did not distinguish in this case. I think we will leave off there.
515.
515, yes. That's, I
Would you
understand
interpret
that.
the same phrase then for odd, when they're talking about, in this case, up to a 10?
Yeah.
Would you interpret it allegorically as we were just saying that up to a 10?
No, in this case, it's because in this case the question was ad comma. What